Hi everyone, thanks for joining. And in this video, I'm going to show you some of the best ways we have found to save money for vacation. Stay tuned. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Liz from Peanuts or Pretzels Travel Blog, and we help make trip planning easy and more fun for people just like you. And one of the biggest obstacles for people when it comes to travel is being able to save up money to travel. And it's one of the questions that we get asked all the time. Gosh, over like the last 10, 15 years, people are always asking us, how do you find the money to travel? And it really comes down to two things. One, understanding our budget and having a reasonable household budget where we are understanding our expenses and making sure that we have those expenses under control so that we have leftover money. And at the end of the day, the second thing, prioritizing saving for travel. Now, because travel is so important to us and it's a big part of our lives, we want to sort of build that into our household budget so that we're always saving for travel. And the benefit of doing this is that we always have sort of a vacation fund that we can use when we want to go somewhere. We don't recommend that you, book a vacation before you have the money to actually pay for it. So if you want to use your credit card to get double points and things, that's fine. That's kind of a totally different topic about travel hacking and earning points. But it is important that you have money in your bank account so you can pay it off afterwards. And that's why we're advocates of making sure that you save money before you're ready to go on that vacation. So if you have that money set aside in your vacation budget, then go ahead and book that trip. I'm going to show you how we go about setting up our family budget and making sure that we can save money so that when we're ready to go on a trip, we can do it. So let's get into it. So I break it down into 5 steps to saving money for vacation. And there's actually a blog post linked below if you want to go in and check out some of the details as well. The very first step, the first thing that you need to do is to build yourself a realistic living budget. Now, it's easier said than done, I understand, but it's a necessary evil because you have to understand what money you have coming in and what money you have going out so that you can understand how much money realistically you have to save for travel. Now, there's a formula that we use, and that is your income minus your fixed expenses minus your variable expenses. And that equals the amount of money left over that you have to save. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to sort of advise you on your overall finances and what you should be saving for retirement, but I don't recommend that you spend all of your leftover money on travel. So we usually use a 90-10 split where we'll take 90% and we'll put that into our long-term savings account for the future, for a rainy day, whatnot. And then we'll take maybe 10% and we'll put that into our vacation budget. So it's really up to you what you want that split to be, but I do recommend that you save some money for a rainy day and then take some other money and put that in your vacation budget. And that's what we like to call paying yourself first, paying yourself as in saving it. So if you have X amount of dollars, you tuck it away in your savings account so you don't blow it, basically, is what that's saying. And that kind of leads me into step 2, which is analyzing your savings. Okay, so, or lack thereof, I guess you could say. So after you take that income and you subtract your fixed and your variable expenses, which we'll talk about later, what those are, then you should, in theory, have some money left over that you can save. Now, if you don't have any money left over, then you really need to go back and evaluate your overall budget. Something's not working. Either you need to reduce your expenses somehow, or you need to try to increase your income. And sometimes increasing your income is not easy. So for some of us, it might be reducing our expenses. So there's different things that you can do so that you can truly understand how much money you have available to save. And then that's where you can figure out what you want that split to be. Do you want it to be a 90-10 split? 90% going to savings, 10% going to vacation, or 80-20, whatever. But that's where you need to really take a hard look at yourself and see if you are saving money. Because if you're not, then there's going to be some other lifestyle changes that you might need to make so that you can get some money at the end of the month to actually save. Now, step 3 to save money for vacation, and I've actually mentioned this a little earlier, is opening a separate travel vacation account. Okay, there's a lot of different banks out there where you can open bank accounts for low balances or have little to no fees, and I definitely recommend you do that. You want to have a separate travel savings account that's not mixed in with your daily living expenses or your regular savings. The reason for this is that you want to be able to see that account going up. And I also like to think of it as a, out of sight, out of mind. So if you have a personal checking account and savings account, if you take that other vacation money out of it, then you're less tempted to spend it, or to dip your hand in there. So kind of separate that money, and that's going to help make it easier for you psychologically just to stick more money in there over time, and you watch it grow and keep it separate. Okay. The other reason for this is that when you do go on vacation, I can't tell you how good it feels to spend money that is for vacation. Okay. So if I have X amount of money, let's say, I don't know, $2,000 in my vacation account, and then I go on a trip somewhere, I know that vacation money is set aside to have fun on vacation. My expenses are already paid for. I already have money in savings, all that good stuff. So this vacation money is just to have fun. And it feels good when you're on vacation and, you're spending money and you're not feeling guilty that, oh, I need that to pay my bills or my rent next month or anything like that. That that's what that money is there for. So it's a very freeing feeling. And it also helps keep you on budget for your vacation. So if you only have $2,000 in there, that's all you have. So definitely create a separate travel savings account. We actually have ours in a totally different bank. We use Chase for a lot of our personal banking, like personal checking and savings and stuff. And then we have a totally different bank that we use for our savings account. And there's a few reasons for that. One of them is just to kind of keep them very, very separate. Another reason that I will mention, I'll link to in the comments, or the description below, is that it actually helps when you're on vacation to have backup like bank cards and stuff in case for emergencies. So we always like to have different banks, different ATM cards in case there's an emergency, we need to get some cash out. In case one card isn't working, we have another one. So that's kind of why we use like different banks, different banking accounts and stuff like that. So step 4 for saving money for vacation is to actually prioritize your spending and your saving so that you are building your vacation account. So in the previous sections, we talked about understanding your expenses and your income and finding out how much money you can actually save. Now you need to really say to yourself, okay, is that realistically going to be enough money, to go on a vacation? Maybe you're seeing that you're only able to save $100 a month or a couple $100, and you know that you're going to want to go somewhere pretty soon. So maybe you feel like you need to increase how much you're saving, or maybe you need to, find another way to put more money in there. So that might mean that you look at your expenses and figure out what things can be cut, where can you get some extra money from and things like that so that you can boost your savings even more for your upcoming trip. And that leads me to step number 5, which is to set a goal for your travel budget. Because if you have this dream that you want to go maybe on a cruise next year, and you do a little bit of research and find out that it's going to cost, let's say, $3,000 to do everything that you want to do, then you might want to kind of work backwards and figure out, what do my expenses and income need to be so that I can realistically save enough money every month that by the time that trip comes, I will have the money to pay for it. Okay, so that's sort of the theory and how all of this works. And in order to help do that, I have created an Excel spreadsheet, which is a budgeting template that we use here at my house to help us to manage all of our monthly expenses. And I use it every single month to go through and figure out what money's coming in, what money's going out, and how much is left over. And then when I know what's left over, I put it in travel or savings or wherever else that needs to go. So let's go ahead and show you what that looks like. So this is an example of our family budget for 2020, and it's built in Excel. And how I have it built is the top part is where you have your different accounts where money is going into different savings. And these are formulas that are automatically built in. So you actually don't have to touch these. But if you hover over each one of them, it gives you a little bit more explanation about what it is. Then you have these fields here. Now this is your salaries or what's getting paid to you that's going into your account after taxes every month. So you can put in whatever it is. Maybe it's 5,000, 3,000, whatnot. So you'll put that in there for you and your family. And then there's an area here where you can add your checking account balance at the time, because maybe you're carrying over a balance from previous months. So we just put a little bit of that in here so you can keep track of that as well. So those are really the only things that you have to input up here. And then below that, we have a section for your fixed expenses. Now I mentioned this earlier a couple times, and if you hover over it, it'll explain it. Fixed expenses are expenses that cannot be eliminated easily. These are typically your monthly recurring expenses that take a little more work if you wanted to reduce them or change them. It would really involve changing your lifestyle. So things like rent or mortgage, homeowners insurance, student loans, car payments, water, electricity, gas, cell phones, things like that. So these are your regular sort of monthly fixed expenses, is how I like to refer to them as. And again, it's going to be different for every person, but you can go in here and you can, input how much you spend on that every month. And there's also some additional blank spaces where you can add some additional items as well. And then the fixed expenses here, the items in red, this is actually a formula that will automatically calculate as well. So if I wanted to change this, maybe we spend, $1,300 on rent, you can see it changes. So these are formulas built in. So let's say, my family, let's say this is our fixed expenses, and then it adds up here. And then variable expenses. Now, these are things that you have a little more control over if you wanted to, tighten up and save some money. So things like gasoline, maybe you decide not to drive quite as much just to work and back. Groceries, you can cut back on groceries if you need to, or go dining out less or shopping less. So, and again, whatever you put in here, it will automatically calculate for you here as well. Okay. So let's say, we spend something like that. So let's say our variable expenses are a little over $1,300. And the system will automatically add your variable expenses and your fixed expenses up here to the top. Okay, so total expenses. So again, this is built in, it'll auto-calculate. So in this scenario, let's say our fixed and our variable expenses are a little over $3,000 a month. So the system will automatically, it'll take your salaries or your payments, it'll deduct your expenses, and then it'll tell you like what you have left over to spend, okay, or to save, excuse me. And it'll even take into account some of this extra money here. And then what it'll do is I have it built in so that you can have like a 90-10 split, but you can change this if you want to have a different split. We were always told that we should pay ourselves first. So if we are saving, this much money every month, then we should really take about 90% of that and put that into a savings account for ourselves for the long term, for emergencies, whatnot. So the system will automatically take 90% and allocate it there, and then 10% will be allocated to our travel account. So what we've done is we've basically just tried to sort of build this in. So each month, as I'm going through our expenses, I can see about how much money we have available to save. So there's two purposes for this. One, it helps me to make sure that I understand how much money is coming in and going out, and if we need to make changes. Do we need to save money or cut back on our expenses, or do we need to bring in more money? Okay, that's the first thing it does. Secondly, it helps give you a way to visually save money. And like I said, I recommend that after you get paid, you go ahead and put some of that money over into your savings accounts. Because again, pay yourself first. You want to save money. And if you took some money away for vacation, it's out of sight, out of mind. And over time, you can see how this would actually build up, and you'll have a whole second bank account full of money that you can use whenever you want to go on a vacation. Whether it's a weekend to the beach or the mountains, you've got some money that is designated for you to spend and be able to enjoy yourselves. And that's how we work to save money for vacation. I'm going to include a link to this free template in the description below, so make sure to check that out, and make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can get more travel planning and great travel inspiration content. And feel free to leave a comment or a question below if you have any, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks and happy travels.